I sort of jokingly talked about Friday the 13th at the very beginning there. But as I was praying over these scriptures, especially our first reading, it talks about the Lord's rest. They shall not enter into my rest. And it kind of caught my attention, not because we're all very busy people. We could all use another day or two of vacation. Not about that. The whole sense of entering into God's rest. And what does that mean? And it made me start thinking about the Hebrews and their observance of the Sabbath. I don't know how much contact or awareness you have of the Jewish community, especially Orthodox Jewish or community, where they really try hard to keep those ways. But in Jewish neighborhoods, on Friday before sundown, they have this huge siren that goes on in the whole neighborhood. I mean, they used the old air raid sirens from World War II. And it's like, and then, that's supposed to tell you need to get home before sundown, because that's when the Sabbath begins. And you have to enter into this time of observance, of being with God and with your family. It's this whole sense that you cannot break this sacred time. And it brought me back into thinking, we're only 13 days into the new year. And how do we observe rest with God? And that question can be answered in so many ways. Do we have that time on Sunday that we know is the Lord's Day? Of course we're going to go to Mass. But what else are we going to do for God, to be with God? Talking about taking care of our own spiritual life. Do we have time every day to be with the Lord in prayer? Do we have, every once in a while, a day of recollection where we sort of take ourselves out of our usual rhythm and we take some time with God and reflect upon where we are and what is pulling at our heart? Some people in other positions, organizations call those mental health days, like, oh, I just got to get out of the office today and do something different, kind of get me out. But our mental health comes from our spiritual health also, in that sense that we refocus ourselves to what we are doing in our work towards God. How about an annual retreat? I'm required by canon law to take a 1-week retreat every year. But be careful asking the brothers if they have, because we get so absorbed finding that time. But if we don't, at what point does our work suffer, our ministry suffer, our lives suffer? Because we're not taking that time to enter into God's rest. And I don't mean vegging out, Netflix and chill. I don't mean, just taking in more sleep or doing something. Entering into God's rest is God looked at all the work that he had done and declared it good, and gave a day simply for being with each other. And our culture, especially in the United States of America, is so focused on doing that the need for us to refocus ourselves on being with God is prophetic. Prophetic to a world that only sees dignity in what a person can do and not in what a person is. In a couple of weeks, we'll have our One Life LA March, right? And it is a firm declaration that we believe in the dignity of the person as they are, not merely in what they do. That's one way. But what other ways do we honor that? So, as we contemplate the fact that by entering into that rest, we can experience being released from our own paralysis, as those men of faith helped their friend be released from his paralysis by encountering Jesus. By entering into God's rest, we experience Christ releasing us from our paralysis And we become a prophetic message to the world that in being with God, we find our truest rest and our truest identity.